Yeah, hello guys. So in previous video we discussed about state concept. Now we can go ahead and discuss about life cycle methods, because ultimately we want our website to be responsive and dynamic, and with the help of these two we can do that. And again guys, before going to the implementation part of this particular what we call life cycle methods, I'm going to discuss about a theoretical concept related to this particular life cycle methods. So guys, what happens, they are basically there's a life cycle associated with component, basically class based component. So that life cycle contains three major processes, you can say: mounting, updating, and unmounting. Means each of the component, whatever the component you develop in your application, you can mount it. Mount it basically means you can render it for the first time, or you can attach it to the browser, or display it over the browser. And updating means you can update it, means you can update the state of that particular component whatever you have developed. And unmounting means removing that component from your application. So suppose you want, I can give an example on this one. Suppose you want to delete a particular division from your application. You are displaying a container in your application and you want to delete it. So that is an unmounting process. So this way the whole process works. And again, we have seen this part like constructor we have created in previous video to define our state, and then we render our code. Means then we render our state, or whatever the application we have, whatever the code we have written, we just render it. So that is the normal process. But why do we use life cycle methods? Like there you can see these are three life cycle methods, and these two are most commonly used, and this one is also used generally. But so again, this guys, these are life cycle methods. So what is the need of these life cycle methods? So suppose guys, I can give a very basic example. Suppose you are developing an application, and there in that application you want to access user location. So that user location, you want to access it only once, and you want to save it, and for later use. So what you can do guys, you can put that code, means your accessing code, inside this particular method, component did mount method. So what that is going to do, whenever you are running your application for the first time, you are just accessing user location inside this particular method. So this method is going to run automatically as soon as your component is mounted or displayed over the browser. So that is, this basically method is helpful when you are doing some initial data loading. So that is the concept behind lifecycle method. So each of the method can be used for a certain requirements. Suppose for initial data loading we can use this one, or suppose you are updating you are updating your state, your component state in your application. So after updating your state, you want to you can use this particular method. Suppose you have changed the color of your particular application background color. So in that case, you after the updation of the color, you want to print some message like I have updated these details. So that code you can put inside this particular function. So that function is again going to get executed automatically as soon as the state of your function is changed. So then you can particularly execute this function. Similarly for this one, like I have given example, like you delete something from your application, and you want to display a message like I have deleted this. So you can put that code inside it. So each of the lifecycle method has their own you can say use. So now what we are going to do sorry, we are going to basically implement those functions. And again guys, they are if I click here, so you can see there are other these lifecycle methods as well, like get, derived, and everything. But these are rarely used ones. So I will be explaining them in a later part. If I use them, then I will be explaining them. Otherwise we generally do not require these methods. These are rarely used. And again, I will be discussing about these two only, sorry, this one and this one, because these two are most commonly used ones. And this one again I will be discussing in later part of the series. So let's begin and try to create these methods and try to see how can we use them basically. So just guys, just see. Basically right now what I have done, I have basically created a very simple application that I have used state, and that state is defining my favorite color, and that I am displaying over the browser. So if I run my application, so you can see basically it's running already, and you can see here my favorite color is red. Now what I'm going to do guys, just see, I'm going to define my this component did mount function, and inside that function what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set a timeout. So this function is a already defined function. You can use it to run your code at a certain point of time. So I'm going to run this function, and there I'm going to set a state for my application. Means there I'm going to change the state, and in that particular change I'm going to change my favorite color. So that basically whenever my component is mounted, that this function is going to get executed, and this is going to change my state. So there I'm going to use an arrow function inside here. And again guys, sorry, yeah, again guys, there is one more thing right now, like I'm going to use an arrow function inside here. So why I'm going to use an arrow function, I will be discussing about it later in this video, but just see. So that basically this set timeout function takes two parameter. First is you can pass any function, and second one is that you can set the timeout period, like after how many times you want to execute your code. So basically this is in milliseconds, so I want to basically execute my code after 3 seconds, so I put this value here. And now whatever the whenever the my component is going to get mounted, this function is going to get executed automatically, and then this function will execute, and it will change my state after 3 seconds. So basically I'm going to change the state. So here what I can do, I can set state, I can use set state, and this set state I'm going to set it by like favorite color I'm going to change, and that color is basically right now let's call it yellow. Okay guys, so this is what I'm going to do. And again guys, what I can do, yeah. So if I now if I run my application, so you can see this one has changed. Means after 3 seconds it is changing. Again if I just like after 1 second I want, so as soon as I run my application, you will see that, like, yeah, red, yellow. So this way means so what is the use of this particular did mount function? It is basically checking that as soon as the mount my component is mounted over the browser, means it is rendered for the first time, it is going to execute the code, whatever the code we have written inside it. So I am not executing this particular function separately, or I am not calling it anywhere. I have just defined it here, and it is going to get executed automatically. And as soon as it executes, it checks for the code that I have written. So basically I have written that I want to change my state. So as soon as I changes my I change my particular state, so my favorite color also gets changed, because ultimately it is going to re-render because there's some changes in my state. So that is basically sorry, that was the basically component did mount function is for. Means that is why we use them for initial data loading. Basically you can say, suppose I want to access user location here, so I can write a user access location location code here, and that code will be get executed as soon as my component is mounted, and then we can use it. So that is why we generally use them, but we are not doing that. So I can remove that command, or I can write like we are setting state here. So we are setting or updating state here. So again guys, that was the part with component did mount, and why I've used this particular arrow function to set the state. So guys, just see, this one is the important concept, and you should not miss this one, like why I've used this arrow function. So guys, in previous video I basically created a helper function, and that helper function was setting the state for me. So that again you can consider this as a helper function only, because this is an arrow function, but it is a function ultimately, so that you can consider that is a helper function. But in that case, in previous video I always I just what I did, I bind that function particular to the basically that there was an error like this, this keyword is not defined. Basically it was undefined. So in that case I have to bind that particular function to this what we call this keyword. But here I am not binding, means I am not like here I am not writing any binding code. So binding code is missing right now here. So why we do not need to write binding code? Because we have used arrow function. So when we use arrow function directly, we do not need to bind every time. So that is why we generally, instead of creating a separate function, helper function, and binding it every time, what you can do, you can basically create arrow function directly, and you can, whenever you are setting your state, in that case it is required, so we can directly create arrow function and we can set the state. So that was the part with this like binding code missing, because ultimately we have used arrow function, because we have used arrow function. We have not created any separate helper function to do that. So if we are creating separate helper function, then in that case this keyword is need to be binded to that function. So that code we can right now leave. So that is the benefit of using this arrow function. Directly you can set the state. Now this was the part with that particular concept, because ultimately you can use both concept, like you can define a helper function and you can bind it here. So again guys, like right now, that was the part with component did mount. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically create second I'm going to discuss about second method, that is a component did update. So guys, just see how this is particular this method is going to work. So suppose I have a division here. Inside that division I create another division and I name it like my division. And basically why I'm creating this particular division, just see guys, what I want to do, basically I want to see whenever my component gets updated, means whenever I change the change the state of my particular component, I want to print a message here, like your color has changed now. So inside that division I want to print a message. So that is basically it will be checking that whatever the color has been changed. So I want to print it like you have changed your color and your new color is this one. So that message where I will be getting from, as soon as my application updates, this function is going to get executed, and there I will be accessing that particular division. So how will I access that division? Document dot get element by id. And what is my id? Id is my basically my div. I have named it like my div. You can see it here, my div. So my division basically, and dot inner HTML, because inside whatever I want to write I can set by this inner HTML. So I want to set it with some message. So that message will be your color has changed now, and new color is and just see guys, a new color is whatever the color is there. So now the color is color we are getting from this favorite color. So now if I save this code, so just see guys what is going to happen. Like my favorite color is yellow. As soon as my color is changed, means it detected it basically going to detect the changes that I have made. So I basically changed my state, so it printed the message out here like your color has now changed. Sorry, color spelling is incorrect. Yeah, your color has changed now and new color is this one. So this is why we use this component did mount function, means we detect some changes whenever the change is there in the state, then we can execute some particular code. So here I wanted to print some additional message like your color has changed now and new color is this one. So this way generally this both of them works, like component did update and component did mount. And basically I will be sharing this code. You can modify this code and you can try to add some new code or execute some new code here, just to see the concept of particular what we can say this function, use of this function. And again guys, in next video I will be creating I will be starting with the new